Okay. Welcome to DLD Music School. My name is Marvin. I'm from Public Possession. I'm gonna be kind of like semi-hosting this thing. I'm gonna start with like providing a little bit of context as of where we are right now. We are at Haus der Kunst, a museum in Munich. I'm saying this also because I think this is being filmed and it's gonna land on the internet, so people probably won't know. You guys will, or do, obviously. DLD Music School is part of Maus now, today. Maus is an initiative by Haus der Kunst and Public Possession, and it's all about education, bringing the beautiful thing that is the arts, music, drawings, playing, dance, and everything, or a lot more than this actually, to children, but also to teenagers, and in the end to everyone that is interested. It's a 3-day festival. We are at the last day of the festival and the last hours of the festival, so I'm a little bit tired already, but I hope I can manage to hide it here. And this talk is going to be about DJing. And since it's DLD Music School, I thought we do it a little bit like back in the days at school, so everyone can introduce themselves and say a few words about who they are, what they do. So I pass on the mic.
Thanks very much, man. Hello, everyone. It's a joy to be here. Thank you to Public Possession and DLD for having me. My name is Haseeb Iqbal, and I've come here. Oh gosh, do I speak too loudly? Oh god. Okay, I'm going to just be quiet for a sec. Is that testing? Is that all right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So. Okay, shall I just hold it? I'm going to hold it at a distance. That's the radio thing coming in. Sorry. So my name is Haseeb Iqbal. I'm a DJ and broadcaster and presenter from London. And this is my second time in Munich. The first time I came was in January for the DLD conference, which was really inspiring and a great opportunity to meet a lot of the people that are in this room, and also Public Possession and everything that they're doing to push the arts here. And I've been DJing for about the last 7 or so years, I think, and writing at the same time and performing poetry. And a big part of what my work centers around is not only playing records and collecting records from around the world, but also learning about the history, interviewing people, and really working out the context to the culture, and using music as a thing that we can learn about the history from, and also bring people together in quite divided times and uplift people. So for me, it's never meant more, and I'm really looking forward to having this panel discussion with these great people about the importance of DJing and why we've never needed it more. So thank you.
Hello everyone. Thank you also DLD and Public Possession for the invite. My name is Majo, and I'm a DJ and selector from Cali, Colombia, and I'm based in Berlin since almost 4 years now. I've been collecting and playing records since 3.5 years now, and basically my selections move in between salsa and Latin jazz.
Hi everyone, thank you also for the invite. My name is Tereza. I've been DJing since over 10 years now, full-time DJing after graduated from university in 2018. Apart from DJing in clubs, festivals, all kind of stuff, I did radio as well, Worldwide FM in London, but also on German broadcaster, German public broadcaster Cosmo. I think I haven't prepared as professionally as Haseeb did, but that's what comes to my mind right now.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Joy. Also, first time for me doing something like this. So very happy to be in this round. And yeah, I'm Joy. I'm from Munich. I started DJing around, shortly after Corona, so 2020, 2021. I started with a radio show at the local community station. It's called Radio 80,000, representing here also on my T-shirt. Shout out. Started with like playing Brazilian and Japanese records, also a bit from my background. So I was born in Brazil, and then slowly getting into playing more club music. And now I have a residency at Goldener Reiter club here in Munich, which is called Joyride. And mainly playing house music, everything around house, I would say.
Okay, thank you. I hope now everyone knows who everyone is. Tigran, I should introduce Tigran because he's from DLD, and he basically put all the program from DLD school together for this and this panel. And he told me a little bit what we should talk about. Hopefully there's like going to be a conversation eventually evolving which goes further and takes different routes. But I think we could, maybe it's a good starting point to discuss. I mean, Tereza, just before we started talking, gave a workshop on DJing. So the technical aspect of blending, or I mean, you don't necessarily have to blend the records. You could also just play one after another. But putting music together. But I think before you do that, you have to decide what kind of music do I want to play. What excites me? What do I want to play to myself, and then eventually, if you consider yourself a DJ, what do I want to transport to others? What's the message? So I'm curious to hear. You already said like you have different musical focuses. How did you get there? What's driving you? What's keeping it interesting for you guys?
Oh, I think. Guess, if anyone wants it, just let me know, I guess, for me, the thing that I love about kind of being a DJ is it kind of gives you an opportunity to express yourself depending on how you're feeling. So if I play a gig tonight, perhaps I'll play very differently to if I was playing in 2 weeks' time. And I try to channel my emotions quite honestly. So if I'm feeling a bit sad, I will bring some records that make me feel like a little bit emotional and maybe kind of represent that state that I'm in. And it doesn't mean that I'll play like a really sad set, but maybe it will be more sensitive and it will reflect that in an honest way. And I think one of the things that can be tough when you start DJing is navigating how to please a crowd, or if you even want to please a crowd, or what that kind of represents when you're on the decks for the first time. And often when you're a DJ for the first time, there's a bit of imposter syndrome coming in because you've never done it before, and you've probably grown up watching a lot of DJs that you really like. And at first it's almost like, that first moment you're like, I'm a DJ. It doesn't happen for a while because you're like, am I? And then eventually you're like, you know what? Yeah, I am. But that thing is so interesting in itself because it's actually about like, what does it mean to be a DJ? And for me, it means, to be a lover of music and to declare yourself a sharer of music. And one of the things that's so important about clubs, as simple as it may sound, is for me, it's one of the only spaces right now where people can come together and gather with passion. And if it's not about clubs, there aren't many opportunities where on a weekly basis I feel like people from different ages and backgrounds and identities feel so compelled to come together with such passion. And suddenly then as a DJ, you've got this opportunity to just journey through a world of sound. And the beautiful thing about music is it doesn't matter what country you play your music in. Some of my favorite music is language I don't even understand. You know, I've got this great German record that every time I play, Gabby Antoinette, it goes off. I don't even know what she's saying. She could be saying some problematic stuff, but I don't think she is, because someone would have said that by now. But you know, that's the beautiful thing about sound, is it's just like, it's universal and it hits you. And there's something so healing about that. And in a world where a lot of us are on the screens and stuff can be quite stressful, the more I play, the more passionate I feel to play and to do that. And yeah, I just think it's such a vital thing that we, you know, keep going, and so grateful for the spaces that bring us in. And even, you know, this, like coming into a museum like this that's bold enough to offer a vision to bring in public possession and to host a conversation about DJ culture, you know, we can't take that for granted. That's really rare and so important. So there's no DJing without spaces, so we've got to keep the clubs alive to keep it going. And of course, if the spaces are there, the people will hopefully always be there. So yeah, long live DJing. Oh, it happened again.
Good. Mic drop. Okay, so basically my motivation started as a way for me to bring like a material part of my culture to this side of the world. As I said, I come from Cali, Colombia. Cali is better known as the capital of salsa in the world, and I come from a very musical background, also with my parents. They were also collectors of music. So somehow for me, the first motivation was just to bring a piece of home to my new home now. And yeah, after this motivation shaped itself into my artist name, which is Dracaena. And I started like playing mostly with Latin collectives and Latin parties, and salsa became somehow kind of a bridge for me between my present and my past, and also a way of connecting with the Latin diaspora, creating collective spaces together where we could just like share our identities and collectively enjoy music. So yeah, that's about me.
I feel like it's so interesting to learn about the backgrounds of the both of you, and also how different it is for me, because like I come from a family which of course listen to music, but mostly like radio stuff, not collecting any music. So I guess on paper, like I wasn't supposed to become a DJ, but here I am, and I think this also reflects in my way of DJing, because I started out with a more rational and technical aspect. I think like when Marvin mentioned like records don't have to blend together, like it physically aches, like it physically hurts my body, because I always try to, I'm very focused and I try to let that go, but I'm very focused on being very technically on point. And I guess that has also something to do with when I started out DJing, like there weren't many female DJs. So I felt like you had to be 200, you have to give like 200%. You had to be on point technically, and I think I still have this in me. And I started out with hip hop music, so I was into scratching, beat juggling, and all that kind of stuff. And from hip hop, I think hip hop is a good starting point to then get to know like funk, soul, and eventually come to house music, what I'm doing now, like as a spectrum. But I think you can still hear my hip-hop roots in playing house music, and I think that's the most beautiful thing, that if a DJ, aware or not, but in how he or she DJs, that you can sort of understand where he or she comes from. And I think that's a very beautiful thing, and if done right, it's like each of us can be very individual in their own way, because their backgrounds is totally different. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm also just thinking where I start. But yeah, for me it's interesting, because actually when I went out, like during my studies, I never went to these parties. I always went to the mainstream clubs, because I didn't know that there's this scene, you know? And then actually through my friends group, I realized, oh my God, you can go party to disco music, and you can go party to soul and funk. And I was like literally, just so happy that I found this place where I was also, you know, just resonating with the sound, because before that, yes, I also love pop music and I also enjoy that at some point, but it was just like nice to see that there's a variety to that. And also it resonated with a bit of how I grew up at home and what kind of music we also listened to at home. It was a lot of soul and funk and Brazilian music too, some jazz. And I realized, oh, there's a place for it where I can actually go and dance to it. So I think also the radio brought me into the scene, and you're talking about the imposter syndrome as well. And in the beginning, I was also thinking, I have so many friends in that community and have a cool radio show, and what should I bring, you know, to the plate? Like, I always wanted to play music, but I didn't know like why I should be the one now playing music. And during my studies, I went abroad to Japan, and while I was there, I don't know, I felt like there is so much music that I actually, you know, already collect. I have my playlists, especially also then it got me into the Japanese synth pop things, already my Brazilian collection. And when I came back to Munich, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready now. I think I have something to share. And that's then basically where it then started. And also this feeling of community. Yeah, I think that's also one of the main motivations, you know, just having a group of people that you hang out with, that you enjoy the music with, and that you can where you can share, show new songs and just dance to and have fun basically, and maybe also just de-stress and forget a bit of the day-to-day. I don't know if that was a good answer, but yeah.
I feel like it comes down to working with what you got and staying curious. I think the best DJs for me are those who keep on developing and, I don't know, staying curious. So, yeah.
Okay. I think I can relate to all of you totally. And I think when we break it down somehow, I would say if you want to DJ, a good starting point is being in love with music and developing a relationship with music. Maybe some sort of eclecticism is recommended. Ideally don't, I mean, you can just become like really, really good at this one particular genre. And maybe that's also what you're going to stand for as a DJ. But to look left and right, I think it can't hurt, because it's opening your mind and it's always going to make you better, because you just understand music and the way it should ideally work better. So we've talked about that now. So the next step to becoming a DJ would be actually getting a gig, right? I mean, if you don't, I mean, you can be a DJ just at home, obviously, which is also cool for you, and then eventually for your friends. I think that's how we all started, I suppose. At least I did, and I know with Valentino, who is like standing over there in the corner because he didn't get a mic. And who is like the second founding member of Public Possession. Where our journey goes way back, and we kind of connected through wanting to DJ and through wanting to show other people our music. And we always come back to, okay, we had like a couple of records, we started trying some stuff at home, and then somehow we got the chance to play at a bar on a Tuesday evening during summer, 40 degrees outside. Nobody was inside, but we could like use the equipment there, and a few people came in, maybe some friends of ours. They had a beer or two, and we just tried ourselves. We were super nervous, even though there was nothing to be nervous about because nobody was listening anyways. But I mean, you have to have this entry point. That's also what you talked about. Like, it's important to have these spaces where you can actually play music. It's important to have people who give the opportunities to you to show what you got, and to also make experiences to find out if you actually want to do that. So how did it happen for you guys? What brought you there? What obstacles did you have? What easy entries did you have? Do you have any recommendations on maybe how to find your way into this? I don't know if it could stay a hobby forever, but for some it's obviously a career. So yeah, that would be my next question.
Cool. Yeah, I guess you know, for me it started. I guess we're just going to be going in this direction. It makes sense, right? Yeah, I guess for me it started when I was at university actually. So I'd done no one would give me a radio show, so I started my own podcast where I was just interviewing people and just putting it on Mixcloud. And it was kind of that same spirit that fed into the DJing thing. But with the radio element, it was just like, okay, let me just get 2 microphones and a mixer and a few friends together, and let's bring in people in the local scene that we look up to, and I'll interview them, and we'll edit it with music. And it was really DIY. Sometimes it would get 10 listens, and then maybe 50 listens, and then 100 listens, and then someone who's got the keys to a radio station's like, okay, do you know what? This is really, and it's just that consistency, keeping on chipping away. And then when I started at university, there was a society which took over the basement of a record shop in Deptford in southeast London every 2 Wednesdays. And it was an open deck situation where essentially you could come into this record shop and you had 20-minute slot each, and it was only vinyl, and you could bring a few records and you had 20 minutes to play to about 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 people. And it was just the most incredible feeling of just feeling like, wow, through playing records I can entertain a crowd and create a little journey. And it gave me this massive incentive for in 2 weeks' time at the next session to find 5 or 6 new records in the record shops of South London and play with that boldness. And after a few weeks, it was just me and my friend Braw, who were the only 2 that were still really bringing in records. And we formed a bit of an alliance and started playing together. The passion was still there. And then I wanted people to book me to do a club night, but nobody would book me. So I started my own night, and nobody came. And the first time we did it in this little club called the Bunker Club in Deptford, which is one of the oldest clubs in South London, cash only, old school, run by this old geezer called Dave. He's got tattoos all over him, and they let me do it, and kind of paid them £100 to rent it out. It was like, I'm going to bring you people, and about 5 people came. But I was so happy that 5 people came. They were not happy. But then they said, do you know what, come back again next month, and they gave me another chance, and then it was 15 people. And the thing that I look back at, and I was so proud of my 19-year-old self, is that I just didn't stop, because it could have been so easy at one of those points to be like, okay, this isn't going very well, I could so easily just focus on the negatives because there were so many. But instead I was just focusing on the fact that if one stranger came along who I didn't know, I would be like, wow, how has this person come across my night? And it would just be, all right, we've got to play our hearts out for this person. And then kind of just continuing that and not stopping was the thing that drove it. And suddenly it kind of got a little bit bigger. And then the importance of the dance meant more to me because it was bringing people together. It was giving me a sense of healing through tough times. And then the pandemic hit. And I think everyone kind of had a bit of a decision after the pandemic within the DJ circuit. It's like, right, when it ends, are you going to bounce back, or is it maybe not for you? And for me, I felt so excited to just come back in. And Studio Crumb, my club night that I do every month in London, it's in the same little club run by the old fella, Bunker, and I still do it there, the first club I ever played in. And next week is going to be the 31st party in about 36 months. So it's pretty much been consistent, and there have been tough months and good months, but just keeping it going, I think, and building the audience through that. And if there's one more thing that I would just say before I pass it over, one of the things that, all right, I've got to just chill out a little bit, I'm getting too excited, right. So one of the things that I think is really important in London is that often when we look at club spaces, everyone, and this is something for like younger DJs that I tell, is like, don't just look at, if you want to start a night but you don't know who's going to book you, don't just look at the big clubs that you know. Think of it in terms of if you go to a pub that is empty on a Thursday and you say to the pub, listen, I want you to bring in a couple of turntables and some speakers. I'm going to bring you 60 people. Let me charge £5 for tickets on the door. They're all going to buy drinks for you. I'll fill up your pub and bring a community there, and through that I'm going to start my own little night. And you'll be surprised by actually people will be like, oh, I've never thought about that. But maybe this isn't just a pub. Maybe this isn't just a restaurant. It's a space. And every space has the potential to have a dance and to bring people together. So I think we need to start thinking more radically about how we can repurpose spaces and just be bold. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of disappointment and a lot of rejection. But part of being a DJ, I'm sure, as we all know, is getting over the rejection and just focusing. You know, like Pep Guardiola says, when you lose a football match, be sad that day, but the next day, be positive. So I think that's the similar thing, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, basically for me, it all started pretty organic because I was not even planning to play in a club at the beginning. As I said, like I just wanted to have my personal collection at home and try to just share it with my friends. But Flinta queer collective from Berlin that normally books only Flinta salsa DJs. So a story of mine where I was playing one record and invite me for their first party. And I was like, okay, if it's only vinyl, I only brought 6 records from home. So I don't know, maybe if you want to book another person, of course, like full of insecurities and maybe not being very sure about the knowledge I already brought with me. But they said like, no worries, you can also play digital. I had a huge digital collection also, so I just went for it. And they decided to have me as their resident for 1 year. So yeah, with this I had the opportunity to also meet other people from the scene and from this Latino salsa scene that at the end is super huge in Berlin. And yeah, like that's how I got the chance to actually being more known and like people listening also to my sets and coming to see me play sometimes. And after 1 year, I decided to go on my own and try myself. And literally what I did was just like also kind of look at places where I was like, okay, they have turntables, maybe I can just come here and tell them I'm gonna play for 2 hours some of my favorite records. And most of the time it was like this, and then it started, yeah, growing. So I feel that, yeah, and the more you have like a space where you can try yourself, the more confidence is growing and the more sure you are about your sound and the more you want to share it and the more you see the reaction from people. So yeah, my advice would be just go for it and yeah.
Hey Haseeb, can I book you as a motivational speaker? Yeah, for me, I started out with a DJ workshop. I literally stumbled into the workshop, so I didn't plan to become a DJ, and I never thought that anyone would book me anyway. So yeah, for me it was just a pure interest of how the technical side work, and of course, like I was into music, but I would say like my real passion for music grew after I knew how to master like the technical part. And while doing this workshop, the guy who did the workshop was asked if he could send like some of his students over to like a bar situation, like people would eat like a 3-course menu and you would do like the background music. I was so nervous when I did my first set there. I like prepared everything. I wrote down what track I wanted to play, and yeah, I was so nervous. And I guess from there I was lucky maybe as well that it grew very natural from there. Like it was a lot of word of mouth. As I said, like when I started DJing, there weren't a lot of female DJs, so I think apart from this higher pressure of having all the attention, of course there also comes a bit of a good thing as well, that maybe, oh, okay, there's one female DJ, we're gonna book her. I think that was a lot of the case in the beginning of my career, and yeah, and then I actually don't know how it happens, but how it happened, but it's, yeah, grew very naturally, organic, word of mouth. Also, I think one recommendation would be not to be too shy to also ask people if you can play in a club or a collective or whatever. I think making like honest connections is really vital to develop a career without being pushy or without expecting other people to do you a favor. I think if you're honest and show like real curiosity for other people, that helps. And going to the places where you think you might fit musically, I think that's a recommendation as well. Yeah, and just give something to the community. And I think as soon as people realize that you have an honest, that you're honest about it, then I think everything will fall into place. Yeah.
Yeah, very well said. I totally agree. Because it was also similar for me, also very organically through the radio. So go and look for your local radios and play there. Most of them offer for you to play a guest session. So yeah, if you're interested, most of them have a form on their website or an Instagram account, just write them. And yeah, that was actually the same for me. When I had my first radio show, it was also a guest session with Japanese music because I just returned from Japan. I wrote down every track, you know, like one by one, minutes, seconds. That's where you then, you know, go in, you know. And of course, it didn't blend because it wasn't possible with the music that I chose. But I tried to at least build up some kind of little story or journey. And yeah, and then from there it also grew. Basically, I was asked if I want to do a regular show on the radio and playing more regularly. Actually, I was just thinking what was my first like gig then outside of the radio, and it was here at Goldene Bar outside on the terrace, where the radio was doing sessions every Sunday where we were able to play, and it was actually when Corona just, you know, was in the ends, and everyone was able to sit outside and we were playing outside, and it just got that we played then a little back to back with the people that played the whole day, and it turned to a little party, and it was just such a cool thing to just be together, enjoy the music, having a good time, and yeah, it's just funny that it was here actually. It just reminded me of that evening. And yeah, from there I also got very lucky, just I think also because of the community, people already having residencies in specific clubs here in Munich that would then, you know, just give me a chance and invite me to the club and play with them. I also was so nervous. I think one of the first times for me was also Goldener Reiter, where I now have my residency, so yeah, it makes sense now that I reflect on it as well. And it was nice, and I think I played, I don't know, 4 or 5 genres. Like I started with Brazilian music probably, went to house, went to bass music, went to garage, and it was just so cool because it was just so nice to share the music. And I mean, it's interesting also because of today, now that maybe you played in more places, you're becoming a bit more rigid or professional, I don't know, with exactly this topic of also sound, where you're like, can I mix so many different genres? Because if I want to be a DJ, I need to stand for a specific sound. I don't know, I mean, that's something I think we can question here together or discuss together if that's the case. But sometimes I miss this very like easy feeling that I had, where I didn't think about what am I going to play next. I just played what I wanted to play. And I think that's maybe then also a thing, yeah, just play what you want to play, because the people will feel this and it's authentic, and this will also resonate with the crowd, and this will also bring you gigs in the end. That's what I believe. Yeah, reach out to your community, and I think those would be also my topics. Yeah, my 2 cents.
I think part of this journey is also what Haseeb also said, like playing in front of difficult dance floors with maybe 1 or 2 people. I think that you learn a lot from these dance floors, because it's so, I don't know, a mental battle, I would say. And then to keep going. I think if you keep going, it shows that you have a real passion about it, and yeah, that's very useful when becoming a DJ. I think it shows that you really into that, and I think I would also recommend to not take any shortcuts, because I think these dance floors with like less people make you a great DJ, because then you learn to read the crowd, like if you want to please the crowd or maybe not please the crowd. I think that's a tool then you can use or not use. It's an actual decision you can make because you have that skill, and I think that's it maybe feels like waste of time, but I think it's really a good practice for your DJ skills.
Yeah, I think that's so true actually, and that's not talked about enough. Like, playing and DJing to an empty dance floor is really where your character and your sound gets formed. Because the bigger dance floors, it's easier, but it's actually when you're playing to just 2 or 3 people and you're like, okay, I can give up now, or I can play my heart out. Those are the ones where you go home being like, do you know what? I'm proud of myself and I'm made for this. You know, sometimes you drop the avant-garde tune that clears the dance floor, but if you just don't stop it and you let it play, those are the moments, you know. I remember sometimes I'd play a tune and it would clear the floor and I would change it and I'd be like, why did I change it? I should have stood by that. So it's those moments actually, it's so true, yeah.
Okay, thank you, amazing. So maybe I sum it up a little bit. You want to become a DJ, then you need passion, I would say, yeah. Persistency, courage, spaces, and if they are not there, then maybe you create them yourselves. You need to be a promoter of yourself and then maybe of the party, because the spaces who hire you, they want their parties to be packed. So somehow you have to think about how do I do that? I want to break this up a little bit now and not be the one who asks questions consistently. Maybe also there's like someone in the audience who wants to ask a question, or maybe you guys have questions for each other. I'm just to hand it over. I think now that we are like at DJing already, we're DJing somewhere. What's the magic about it? That's like my last question for today.
I think the magic is like the room and the fact that we're in a physical room, which is, you know, sadly enough, pretty rare these days. It's like, you know, how often, you know, so often we're at home, we're on the screens, we're on the phones, we're so zoned into this kind of one-dimensional reality that can box us in. And actually, like, getting out into a club, being with strangers, sometimes it takes half an hour to get into the zone of it. You know, it's natural to arrive and feel a little bit, you know, anxious or whatever, and you kind of need to marinate into it. But I think just the beauty of sound to loosen human beings and to remind us of our common ground at a time where we're being so reminded of all the things that separate us, I think is so special. Another thing that just came to mind when you were saying, you know, sum it up, and one of the things that Tereza said is about not taking a shortcut. I think that's such an important thing for like a young DJ in this day and age to hear, is that we're in an age where people are trying to take shortcuts through the algorithm online and these kind of Instagram reels that people are trying to do to hit this algorithm and get loads of views and followers overnight. You know, at the end of the day, that's going to be part of a short-term little trend that's going to burn out and burn away, and you will get replaced. The only artists that will never be able to get replaced are the ones who have perfected their craft and anchored their principles over many years, because when the trend shifts, you still know who you are and you still know what you stand for. And if you continue to play like that, maybe some people will look away, but at the end of the day, you will always have the people and the audience that you've built up in person. So I think we need to remember as DJs, it's not about going viral overnight, it's not about reaching 1 million people tomorrow, it's actually about the impact and the impression and the depth that we can leave on the few people that might be in a room, and that will always be remembered. But the 6-second reel that gets 1 million views will be forgotten the week after. So I think the next generation of DJs need to hear that, because if you're a 17-year-old kid and you love music and your favorite DJs are doing these reels and you're like, oh, okay, that's how to do it, you're going to forget about the craft and you're going to focus on the image. So I think that's a really important thing that needs to be talked about at this time in the world.
Okay, me, I think that first DJing has brought me, yeah, as I said before, the chance to connect a lot with my community from this space. So for me, it's literally a fuel of empowerment, and it just creates spaces where people can just be themselves. And yeah, another thing that for me has been also very magical is that I think that as a DJ, you're not only like in your individual self alone while you play, like there is always a constant communication with the crowd, and this allows you also to create a journey where you are communicating with them and they are also giving you so much energy. And I feel also that the energy that it's been created in the room when you're playing and people are actually connected with what you're doing, it's the most amazing thing that I have experienced while doing this. And yeah, this also comes from from your authentic self. Like you're allowed to communicate that much because at the end you're authentic with what you want to deliver and to give, and also mostly also to yourself. So yeah.
I think I agree what both of you are saying. I think this effect when playing the warm-up and slowly people coming in, and then you have one group in one part of the club, then you have another group in another part of the club, and then you sort of create like vibrations in this first group, vibrations in this second group, then more people coming in, and then there's like a point where all of the people are vibrating together, and I feel like just speaking about it, it fills me with so much joy because I feel like it's the best feeling in the world. And adding to what you said, Haseeb, I think also the social media aspect of DJing can be a bit tricky because it's not only about these super hype moments, it's also about keeping this connection over a longer period than just 30 seconds. And I think that's what people that's what people have in their minds when thinking about the evening, like the whole story, not just this short clip of like 30 seconds. And yeah, I think just feeling this connection and maybe also being able to sort of travel the world with what you're doing is yeah, I'm so grateful for all that, like meeting people like you. I think without DJing, there would be no way that our paths would have crossed, right? So I think this whole thing is the most beautiful and sometimes also the most painful job with like sleepless nights and all like the mental pressure that maybe you put on yourself. But yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Actually, everything has been already said, but this feeling of togetherness, that's definitely also for me the magical thing on the dance floor, but exactly also what you said, community not on a local scale, but also then on this more global scale, that it brings you, you know, to places that you didn't think that you will go, and you will meet people that, yeah, you never thought that you will meet. So it's just, yeah, I feel also that's the magical thing where that happens. So, and also there, I think where social media sometimes is helpful, you know, because it's exactly, of course, sharing these moments. You always need to look at it a bit more carefully because yes, maybe they captured this one drop and everyone, you know, was partying, but then actually the first 2 or 3 hours it was quite hard and no one was on the dance floor. So no one sees that, right? Like the warm-up work to get the dance floor full and to get then that feeling of togetherness to then embark on this journey together. That's something that often, you know, is not being shown. But still social media, I think, is super, super nice also for connecting, especially, and I think that we didn't mention also for becoming a DJ, putting out mixes. I think it's very, very important. I hate it, but it helps. And it's also nice because people will listen to your music, people will reach out. It's the same with me when I listen to a radio show or to a specific mix. And maybe we don't do that often enough, but reaching out to that person and saying, hey, I listened to it, I really, really loved it. And just getting the conversation started, is on the one hand super helpful to get your maybe career going, but then also it's just so nice because then exactly that will bring more magical moments, just meeting someone in a different city for coffee and then maybe at some point playing together. So maybe just because we didn't mention that, I thought that's also a very important point.
This is so great though, can I just say, like what a lovely chat and conversation and moment to have this. So it's like even some of the things that we're talking about, I've not talked to anyone about these things, and like hearing your guys' reflections, it's like elaborations of little thoughts that have been in my mind, but to actually vocalize these and to share it is like, this is so important because DJing is so glamorized, and it's like, oh, like you're so lucky to be a DJ, like you get to travel the world and play all this music, but nobody sees those hard hours where you're trying to fill a floor. Nobody sees, when the mic messes up when you're speaking into it. But there are all the other edges to it, and like the social media element, I think it's so cool that we're talking about that, because that's something that's really not talked about, because people just want to, push it and want it to do well and to avoid it. But you're so right, focusing on those nights where you're playing with people, maybe 30 people will remember the magic, and we don't need to convince 30,000 people that it was all magical. We can just preserve that feeling and know that will live on. So yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate this all. Okay.
I'm kind of like trying to find an end now, and I wanted to say like really nice plaidoyers for why you should maybe pick up DJing and maybe try yourself at it. Now you intervened by also saying there's like some downs maybe, but I think that's like how life is, so you just have to go for it. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you Haus der Kunst for creating space to do this. Thank you DLD for making it happen, for bringing all of you guys here, for bringing me here. I mean, I was going to be here anyways, but now I have like a purpose, which is nice. And this is not finished. You should all stay here, because what's going to happen now is that Haseeb is going to DJ.